My name is Jim, I'm 38 years old and I work as a roofer in Chicago. I've been married to Barbara for 12 years. I thought I knew my wife inside and out, but it turned out I was wrong. And that mistake cost me everything. It all started with a simple coincidence. Barbara had always been careful with her phone, never left it unattended. But that evening in March, she fell asleep on the couch watching a series, and her phone lay beside her. The screen was glowing from a message notification. I didn't plan to look. I just wanted to put the phone on charge. But when I saw the name Tommy, and the beginning of the message, "Can't wait for next time," my heart started beating faster. You know what's most terrifying in such moments? It's not that you suspect something bad. It's that deep inside you already know the truth, but your brain refuses to accept it. I carefully took the phone. Barbara was sleeping soundly. She always slept like the dead after a hard day at the insurance company office. I unlocked the screen. I knew the code, our daughter Emma's birthday. What I saw next changed everything forever. The correspondence had been going on for 3 months. Tommy worked with her in the same office, a new sales manager. 32 years old, single. Their messages. God, it's hard even to remember. Not just flirting or innocent communication. These were details of their meetings at a motel on the outskirts of the city, future plans, discussions about how to end all this with Jim. What struck me most wasn't that she was cheating on me. It was how she talked about me. Jim is so boring. He only thinks about his roofs and construction. With him I feel like I'm in prison. 12 years together. A daughter. A house. Shared dreams. And I was a prison to her. But the most interesting part was yet to come. Instead of making a scene there and then, I made copies of all the correspondence. I photographed every message, every photo they sent each other. Don't ask why, instinct just told me it would come in handy. The next month was hell. I played the role of a loving husband, while she continued her work delays and evenings with girlfriends. Every time she went to him, I knew. When she came home with his scent on her clothes, I knew. When she kissed me goodnight, I knew that hours earlier those lips had been kissing him. You know what's hardest? Not anger. Not pain. But the theater. Playing the happy husband every day when everything inside is burning. Emma suspected nothing. She's 10 years old, she believed she had the most beautiful mom and the best dad in the world. Every morning she hugged us both and I thought, how can Barbara look her in the eyes? The roofing work kept me busy during the day, climbing up and down houses, installing shingles, fixing gutters. The physical exhaustion helped numb the emotional pain, at least temporarily. My crew Mike, Carlos, and Dave noticed I'd become quieter, more focused on work. They probably thought I was just getting more serious about the business. "You okay, boss?" Mike would ask sometimes when he caught me staring off into the distance during lunch breaks. "Yeah, just thinking about the Peterson job," I'd lie, referring to whatever roofing project we had going. But at night, when I came home covered in dust and tar, smelling like hot asphalt and sweat, Barbara would wrinkle her nose slightly. I noticed it now. The way she'd turn away when I tried to kiss her, claiming she needed to shower first. The way she'd suddenly become very interested in her phone when I walked into a room. Looking back, the signs had been there for months. The new clothes she bought for work presentations. The sudden interest in going to the gym after years of complaining about having no time. The way she started doing her hair and makeup more carefully even for regular work days. But patience has limits. And those limits were set by Barbara herself. In mid-April, she became particularly nervous. Constantly checking her phone, smiling with some new kind of smile. And then a week before that Thursday she said, "Jim, I have an important project at work. I'll have to work late all week. Can you pick up Emma from school?" Of course I agreed. But I already knew there was no project. In their correspondence, Tommy wrote that his hotel room would be occupied all week due to renovations, and he suggested meeting at her place. "When Jim picks up the daughter, we'll have the whole house to ourselves," Barbara had written. That's when I came up with my plan. I have a mother-in-law, Martha, Barbara's mother. A principled, conservative woman very attached to family. Barbara had always feared her judgment. Martha lives in Minneapolis with Barbara's sister Susan and her husband Robert. They rarely visit us. The last time was at Christmas. The plan formed slowly in my mind over several days. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, listening to Barbara's peaceful breathing beside me, and think about all the ways this could play out. I could confront her directly, but she'd probably just deny everything or promise to end it, promises I'd never be able to trust. I could hire a private investigator, but I already had all the evidence I needed. I could just file for divorce quietly, but then she'd control the narrative, probably paint me as the bad guy who gave up on their marriage. No, I wanted her to face the consequences of her choices in the most impactful way possible. I wanted her to see how her actions affected not just me, but everyone who cared about our family. I called Martha and said I wanted to arrange a surprise for Barbara. I told her that Barbara had been very tired from work lately, and I wanted to lift her spirits with an unexpected family visit. Come on Thursday evening, I said. Just don't warn Barbara. It's supposed to be a surprise. Martha was thrilled with the idea. Susan too. Robert initially hesitated. Driving 400 miles just for dinner seemed strange to him, but the women convinced him. It'll be wonderful, Jim, Martha said over the phone. Barbara works so hard, she deserves a nice surprise. We'll bring her favorite cake, you know, the chocolate one with raspberry filling I make for special occasions. That sounds perfect, Martha. She'll be so happy to see you all. The irony wasn't lost on me. Barbara would indeed be surprised. During that week leading up to Thursday, I watched my wife prepare for what she thought would be a week of secret rendezvous. She went shopping for new lingerie. I found the receipt in her purse when she asked me to grab her car keys from it. Victoria's Secret, $127.43. 12 years of marriage and she'd never spent that much on underwear for me. She also started working out more intensively. Every evening after her supposed late work, she'd come home and immediately hit our home treadmill. Just trying to stay in shape, she'd say, but I knew she was preparing her body for someone else's eyes, someone else's touch. The worst part was watching her lie to Emma. Our daughter would ask, "Mommy, why are you working so late this week?" And Barbara would smile sweetly and say, "Daddy's company is working on a big project, sweetheart. But it's almost done, and then Mommy will have more time to spend with you." Emma would nod understanding, trusting her mother completely. The innocence in my daughter's eyes made my chest tight with rage. Thursday. D-Day. That morning Barbara spent an hour getting ready. She tried on 3 different dresses before settling on a blue one I'd bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. The irony was bitter, she was wearing my gift to seduce another man in our home. She spent 45 minutes on her makeup, carefully applying foundation, eyeshadow, mascara. She used the expensive perfume I'd given her last Christmas, Chanel No. 5. Another gift being repurposed for betrayal. "You look beautiful," I said as she came downstairs, and for a moment, her face showed something that might have been guilt. "Thank you," she said quietly. Jim, I want you to know that I love you." The words hit me like a physical blow. Even now, even as she prepared to spend the day in bed with another man, she could lie to my face with such apparent sincerity. "I love you too, Barbara. Have a good day at work." She kissed my cheek and I smelled the perfume, saw the careful makeup, noticed the way her hand trembled slightly as she grabbed her purse. "I'll be very late tonight," she said. "Don't wait up." "Of course, honey. Good luck with the project." Emma went to school, chattering excitedly about a science project she was working on. "Dad, did you know that some birds can sleep while flying? Mrs. Johnson told us about it yesterday. Maybe I could write about that." "That sounds fascinating, sweetheart. Tell me more about it tonight when I pick you up." The normalcy of the morning routine, making Emma's lunch, checking her backpack, reminding her about soccer practice next week, felt surreal against the backdrop of what I knew was coming. I went to work, but I might as well have stayed home. I couldn't concentrate on anything. Mike noticed immediately. "Boss, you sure you're okay? You've been standing there staring at those shingles for 10 minutes. "Sorry, Mike. Just thinking." We were working on the Martinez house that day, a complete roof replacement. Normally, I enjoyed the physical challenge of roofing work, the precision required to lay each shingle perfectly, the satisfaction of creating something that would protect a family for decades. But that day, every hammer blow felt like it was echoing my heartbeat, every step on the roof felt unsteady. "Why don't you head home early today, Jim?" Dave suggested around noon. "Carlos and I can finish up here. We're almost done anyway." I wanted to refuse, to maintain the pretense of normalcy, but my hands were shaking too much to hold the nail gun steady. "You know what? You're right. I think I'm coming down with something." At 4 o'clock I picked up Emma from school. She bounced into the truck, full of energy and stories about her day. "Dad, can we get ice cream? Please?" Jenny's mom took her for ice cream yesterday, and Jenny said it was the best day ever. "How about we visit Grandma instead? She's been asking about you." Emma's face lit up. She adored my mother, who spoiled her with homemade cookies and endless patience for games and stories. I dropped Emma off at my mother's house, telling her that Barbara and I were having a romantic dinner at home. "Ooh, are you and Mommy having a date?" Emma giggled. "Something like that, sweetheart." My mother, Carol, was thrilled to have Emma for the evening. You two go enjoy yourselves. Emma and I will have a grand time, won't we, sweetie? At 5 o'clock, Martha called. Jim, we're already in your neighborhood. Where should we go? My heart started pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it through the phone. 1247 Maple Street. Park by the house and ring the doorbell. Barbara should be home. And Barbara was indeed home. With Tommy. I parked around the corner at 5:45 p.m. I had watched Tommy enter our house at 5:30 p.m., a tall, dark-haired man in an expensive suit, carrying a bottle of wine and what looked like flowers. The sight of him walking up to my front door, using the key my wife had obviously given him, made my stomach turn. Through the living room window I could see shadows moving inside. My house, the house where my daughter played, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays, where Barbara and I had made love countless times, was now being defiled by strangers' passion. Martha's car appeared at 6:10 p.m. right on schedule. I watched from my hidden position as 3 people got out of the car and walked toward my front door. Martha was carrying a large cake box. She always baked cakes for family gatherings. Susan held a bouquet of flowers, yellow roses, Barbara's favorites. Robert looked tired after the long drive but was smiling, probably looking forward to seeing his sister-in-law and niece. They had no idea what they were walking into. The doorbell rang. I couldn't even imagine what would happen next. I had planned simply to show Barbara that I knew about everything in the presence of family. I thought she'd be confused, Tommy would leave and we'd talk like adults. But what happened exceeded my wildest expectations. Tommy opened the door. In underwear. Only underwear. Martha, Susan, and Robert froze at the threshold like statues. Tommy froze too. And then from deep inside the house came Barbara's voice. Tommy, who's there? If it's the mailman then? Barbara appeared in the hallway wearing my bathrobe. And only the bathrobe. Her hair was disheveled, her lips swollen from kisses, her skin flushed. She looked like a woman who had been thoroughly loved, just not by her husband. When she saw her family, her face went white as snow. Mom? Susan? What are you doing here? Martha looked back and forth between her daughter and the half-naked stranger at the door. The cake box fell from her hands and crashed on the porch, chocolate and raspberry filling splattering across the welcome mat I had bought just last month. Who is this? Martha pointed at Tommy. Barbara couldn't utter a single word. Tommy tried to explain something. This isn't what you think. What is it then? Martha's voice became cold as ice. Tell me what this is, Barbara. Susan started crying. Robert turned away. And I approached closer to hear better. Mom, I can explain. Explain. Explain to me why my daughter is greeting guests in a bathrobe with a naked man in the house where her husband and granddaughter should be. Barbara looked around as if searching for an escape. She saw me behind her relatives. Jim? How did you? Surprise, I said calmly. I thought your family would want to see you. What happened next was like an explosion. Martha began screaming at Barbara in language I'd never heard from her. Susan rushed to the car. Robert tried to calm his wife. Tommy, finally understanding the situation, ran to get dressed. And Barbara stood in the middle of this chaos, repeating, This isn't what you think. But everyone understood that it was exactly what they thought. The scene that unfolded was both horrible and fascinating to watch. Martha, a woman I'd always known as composed and dignified, was transformed into a force of righteous fury. Her voice, usually soft and measured, became a weapon. 12 years, Barbara. 12 years Jim has been faithful to you, working hard to provide for his family, and this is how you repay him. Tommy managed to get his pants on but was struggling with his shirt buttons, his hands shaking. He tried to slip out through the back door but Martha spotted him. Don't you dare leave, young man. You come here and explain yourself. Tommy froze like a deer in headlights. Ma'am, we didn't mean for this to happen. Didn't mean for what to happen? To get caught. Susan had stopped crying and was now staring at her sister with a mixture of disgust and disappointment. Barbara, how could you? Emma looks up to you. What kind of example is this? Robert, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation, kept lighting one cigarette after another. Jesus Christ, Barbara, he muttered under his breath. The neighbors started coming out of their houses, drawn by the shouting. Mrs. Peterson from next door, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson from across the street, even the teenage Thompson kids appeared on their porch to watch the drama unfold. I felt a mixture of satisfaction and horror. This was what I had wanted, for Barbara to face the consequences of her actions publicly, dramatically. But seeing it happen, watching my wife's world crumble in front of our entire neighborhood, was more intense than I had anticipated. Jim, Tommy finally addressed me directly. "I want you to know that I never meant for it to go this far. Barbara told me that your marriage was over, that you two were practically separated." "She told you what?" I couldn't keep the incredulity out of my voice. "She said you hadn't been intimate in months, that you were sleeping in separate bedrooms, that you'd both agreed to see other people?" I stared at Barbara, who couldn't meet my eyes. Even in her betrayal, she had betrayed her lover with lies. "We made love 3 nights ago, Tommy. In our bedroom. Our marriage bed. Did she tell you about that?" The color drained from Tommy's face. He looked at Barbara with something approaching horror. "You told me?" "I know what I told you," Barbara whispered. The conversation continued for over an hour. Martha demanded answers. Susan alternated between crying and expressing disgust. Robert finished half a pack of cigarettes. The neighbors gradually retreated to their homes, but I could see curtains twitching at windows up and down the street. Barbara tried desperately to explain, to justify, to minimize. She claimed it was a moment of weakness, that she had never meant for it to become serious, that she loved me and Emma and would do anything to fix things. But Martha wasn't buying it. "A moment of weakness doesn't last 3 months, Barbara. A moment of weakness doesn't involve bringing strangers into your family home. A moment of weakness doesn't involve planning to leave your husband." "What?" Susan gasped. "You were planning to leave Jim?" I pulled out my phone and showed them some of the printed messages. Martha read them with growing horror, Susan sobbed harder, and Robert crushed his cigarette under his heel with more force than necessary. When everything calmed down, Martha made her pronouncement. "Barbara, you are dead to me. Until you make right what you've done wrong." They left that same night. Didn't stay over, didn't eat dinner. They simply got in their car and drove back to Minneapolis, 400 miles through the darkness. And we were left alone. "How long have you known?" Barbara asked when we went inside the house. "A month." "Why didn't you say something earlier?" I showed her the printouts of the correspondence. I wanted to make sure it was serious. That it wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. Barbara read her own words and grew paler and paler. "Jim, No need to explain. Everything is clear here." The house felt different now. The living room where we'd spent countless evenings watching movies together, the kitchen where we'd shared thousands of meals, the stairs leading to our bedroom, everything was tainted by what had happened. The next 2 weeks we lived like strangers in the same house. Barbara tried to apologize, promised to end the relationship with Tommy, said it had all been a mistake. But it was too late. Not because of the betrayal, because of what I had learned about what she really thought of me. Because she had been able to look me in the eye for a month, knowing what she was doing. Because she had planned to end all this with me. The details of those 2 weeks are burned into my memory. Barbara slept in the guest room. We spoke only when necessary, usually about Emma or household logistics. The silence in the house was oppressive, broken only by the sound of our daughter playing in her room, blissfully unaware that her world was falling apart. Barbara tried several times to initiate conversations about working things out and going to counseling. She bought books about surviving infidelity, left them prominently on the coffee table where I couldn't miss them. She scheduled an appointment with a marriage counselor and begged me to come with her. "Jim, please. We have 12 years together. We have Emma. We can get through this. Can we? Can you look me in the eye and tell me you never meant those things you wrote about me? That I'm not boring, that our life together isn't a prison for you?" She couldn't. She would start to speak, then stop, then start again, but the words wouldn't come. Meanwhile, life went on. I had to keep working, keep providing. The roof repairs and installations didn't stop for my personal drama. My crew noticed the change in me. I was quieter, more focused on work, staying later than necessary. "Boss, everything okay at home?" Carlos asked one afternoon as we finished installing gutters on the Williams house. "Just going through some stuff, Carlos. Nothing to worry about." But it was something to worry about. Emma was starting to notice the tension. She'd ask why Mommy and Daddy weren't talking, why Mommy was sleeping in the guest room, why there was angry air in the house. "Are you and Mommy fighting?" she asked me one evening as I helped her with homework. "Sometimes adults have problems they need to work out, sweetheart. But you still love each other, right?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "I will always love you, Emma. That will never change." She seemed satisfied with that answer, but I could see the worry in her 10-year-old eyes. Emma learned about the divorce a month later. We sat her down together, Barbara and I, in the living room where this whole nightmare had begun. "Emma, sweetie," Barbara began, her voice shaking, "Daddy and I have something important to tell you." "Are you getting divorced?" Emma asked matter-of-factly. Barbara and I exchanged surprised looks. How did you know that word, honey? I asked. My friend Katie's parents got divorced last year. She said they used to fight and then they stopped talking to each other just like you and Mommy. We explained as gently as we could that we couldn't live together anymore, that it wasn't her fault, that we both loved her very much. Emma cried and begged us to try harder to love each other, but children adapt faster than adults. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Barbara didn't contest custody or the division of assets. I think she understood that after that Thursday she had no moral ground to stand on for making demands. The legal meetings were torture. Sitting across from Barbara in sterile conference rooms, dividing up 12 years of shared life into dollar amounts and custody schedules. The lawyer asked questions about our assets, our debts, our plans for Emma's care. Mrs. Martinez, do you contest your husband's request for primary custody? No, Barbara said quietly. I think Emma should stay with Jim. Even Tommy disappeared from the equation. He quit his job at the insurance company within a week of the scandal. I don't know if he left voluntarily or was asked to go. Barbara was transferred to a different department, her reputation at the company presumably damaged by the gossip that must have spread after Tommy's sudden departure. Martha never forgave her daughter. She sent Emma birthday and Christmas cards with small gifts, but she didn't include any messages for Barbara. Susan maintained minimal contact, calling maybe once a month to check on Emma, but the warm family relationships of the past were gone. Robert called me a few times after the divorce was finalized. Jim, I want you to know that what Barbara did, that's not how we raised her. Martha and I were ashamed. It's not your fault, Robert. Sometimes people make choices that surprise everyone who knows them. Still, you didn't deserve that. You're a good man, a good father. Emma's lucky to have you. Now I live in a small apartment near Emma's school. It's a 2-bedroom place on the 3rd floor of an older building, nothing fancy but clean and comfortable. Emma has her own room here, decorated with posters of her favorite singers and stuffed animals from her childhood. She stays with me most weekends and half of the school holidays. We've developed new routines: Saturday morning pancakes, Sunday afternoon movies, help with homework at the kitchen table that doubles as my desk. Dad, do you ever miss living with Mommy? She asked me last month while we were building a puzzle together. I miss the family we used to be, I said carefully. But I don't miss being unhappy. Were you unhappy when we all lived together? Toward the end, yes. But not because of you, sweetheart. Never because of you. Barbara rents a house on the other side of town, a small place with a tiny yard. Emma goes there every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. She says it's okay, but doesn't seem as comfortable there as she does in my apartment. We don't communicate except about matters concerning Emma. School events, medical appointments, scheduling changes. Our conversations are brief and businesslike. Emma has a soccer game Saturday at 10 a.m., she might text. I'll be there, I'll respond. At the games we sit on opposite sides of the field. We both cheer for Emma but we don't acknowledge each other. Emma pretends not to notice, but I can see her eyes darting back and forth between us, hoping we might suddenly reconcile. The roofing business keeps me busy and provides enough income to support my new life. I've even hired another worker, a young guy named Alex who reminds me of myself at that age, eager to learn, hardworking, grateful for the opportunity. Mr. Martinez, he said after his first week, thank you for giving me a chance. My girlfriend just had a baby, and I really needed this job. Just work hard and show up on time, Alex. That's all I ask. Sometimes I think about dating, about trying to find someone new. Friends and family suggest it might be time to move on. My mother is particularly vocal about it. Jim, you're still young. You deserve to be happy. There are good women out there who would appreciate a man like you. But the idea of trusting someone again, of opening myself up to that kind of vulnerability, feels impossible right now. Maybe someday, but not yet. It's been a year and a half since that Thursday. I don't regret what I did. Maybe it was cruel to arrange such a public scandal. But Barbara had been deceiving me for months, planning to destroy our family in a way that would have left me never knowing the truth. And the truth always comes out. The question is just when and how. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I had simply talked to her after I found the messages. Maybe she would have apologized, ended the relationship with Tommy, and we could have tried to start over. But then I remember that correspondence. The way she wrote about our 12 years together. How easily she could lie to my face every day. And I understand that that Thursday simply accelerated what was bound to happen anyway. People sometimes ask me if I hate Barbara. The answer is no. Hate requires energy I don't want to spend on her. What I feel is more like disappointment, in her, in myself for not seeing the signs earlier, in the fact that 12 years could be thrown away so carelessly. Emma is thriving despite everything. Her grades are good, she's made the school soccer team, and she seems to be adjusting well to our new reality. Children are remarkably resilient. Dad, she said recently, I understand why you and Mommy couldn't stay married. Sometimes when I'm at her house, she gets this sad look on her face, and I think she knows she made a big mistake. What do you think about that, sweetheart? I think grown-ups should think more before they make big decisions. Out of the mouths of babes. The house on Maple Street sold 6 months after the divorce was final. Neither Barbara nor I wanted to live there anymore, too many memories, too much history. A young couple with twin toddlers bought it, and I hope they'll fill it with happier memories than we left behind. I drive past it sometimes on my way to job sites. It looks the same from the outside, but I know the new owners have repainted the kitchen and replaced the carpet in the living room. They're making it their own, erasing the traces of our failed marriage. That's probably for the best. Tommy, as far as I know, left Chicago entirely. Someone told me he moved to Denver or Phoenix, somewhere far from the mess he helped create. I don't think about him much anymore. He was just a symptom, not the disease. The disease was the slow erosion of respect and love in my marriage, something I was too blind or too comfortable to recognize until it was too late. But life goes on. Emma and I are building something new together, a different kind of family but a real one. I'm teaching her to be strong, to make good choices, to value honesty and integrity above all else. And maybe that's worth something. Maybe that makes the pain and the public humiliation and the late nights spent staring at the ceiling worth it. Maybe that Thursday, as terrible as it was, saved us both from something worse, a lifetime of lies and slow-burning resentment. I'll never know for sure. But I'm choosing to believe it's true. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Maybe YouTube will no longer offer you my channel, so subscribe to it by clicking subscribe on the right under the video to receive new interesting stories. Also on the right of the video there is a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to, and you can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.